That's where I'm going to meditate today. That's where my 30 minutes of that is going to creep in. But I always feel like when you give to yourself at the start of the day, as I have on two fronts, that actually the rest of the day goes smoother as a result, because there's not that sense of, yeah, what about me? Or there's not this sense of my day is running away from me. But again, it would be a lot different if I was in a 9 to 5. Then I think your rigid structure does work for you. Like my wife, actually, she is in a rigid 9 to 5, so she trains first thing, and she's a much better person. She's a much better employee. She's much better in a role as a PR operative. It's probably not what they call themselves, but just for training nice and early. There's this thing around sort of daylight, I always think that it feels so much better and you're so much more rewarded when you train or get up to do your training, whatever that is, running or gym, when it's dark, because there's that element of sacrifice. And when you've sacrificed your comfort, the comfort of your bed, the comfort of your warm home, the comfort of sort of mentally telling yourself that my day doesn't begin until it gets light, I always think like that is someone who's got their stuff together, someone that has the ability to go without, someone that has the ability to come out of their comfort zone. And I've always tried to do as much of that as I can, because again, I just know that I recognise that it is vital to growth and building a resilience and a confidence and a trust in yourself that I can do what's necessary. I think we need to be able to answer that question. Can we do what is necessary to achieve the results that we want?
With all that you've just said, you seem to be that well-rounded guy, but obviously built on experience. Has any of it across the many things you've done scared you? Like the He Who Dares, like the race across the world? Was there any element? Because obviously you're physically fit, so fitness isn't a concern, which is a concern for most people who take on some of these challenges. But the mental aspect, the other side of not having that control, did any of that scare you? Did you learn a lot from any of them things? Or what is it that you went, I could be in over my head here?
The SAS thing is worth a mention, I think. And again, because I was always the one with the engine, it allows you to go into that with a confidence, which is naive actually, because that whole process is probably 15% fitness and 85% sort of mindset. But I also was confident in my mindset because I've been tested by life, and I like to feel like I've always had a resilient attitude. But what's the hardest thing is always what come of that experience as a byproduct, and actually sort of comes every time I speak to a football manager, oddly, and that is that, are you prepared to look at your flaws? Are you prepared to even acknowledge their existence? And that can be really difficult. And I know that that's wrapped up in ego. It's also sort of wrapped up in not wanting to be uncomfortable with who you are. And we've all got our flaws, and it's just whether you're willing to look at them or not. But on the you might be asking, like, well, what flaws? What did you discover about yourself? And on the SAS thing, it was like I was really good when it came to organising myself and sort of supporting everybody else, but slightly from a distance. When it comes to switching into a mindset of look after your oppo, i.e. like you're in pairs, make sure you look after this individual, because that's what's required in the military in any capacity. And actually I found that harder. I found it harder to look after someone that wasn't maybe as physically capable. And I remember sort of like we were pulling something heavy along the snow with the skis on and sort of digging in. And for me, it was all about keeping up with the stronger teams. And the person that I was with was struggling, and I didn't have the right response to that. So again, it's like I recognise at that point my life had lended itself to having a really close personal relationship with myself. I was a bit of a loner as a kid in certain respects, and then you start to kind of, when that's reflected back at you in the form, firstly, of a bollocking, and then secondly, it's like you sit down and you kind of start thinking to yourself, like, why did I find it so hard to just forget the competitiveness and support the individual that ultimately I was there to kind of stick with. And yeah, and you start to ask yourself some difficult questions, and obviously it just reflects. We all have our dark edges, as it were, our things that we haven't confronted or maybe didn't even know that we needed to. And I'm really grateful for that, because it helps you to improve.